We're going to look at solving quadratic equations by factoring. So we have the following 3 steps. The first thing you want to do is factor completely. This might include factoring out a greatest common factor, or dots, the difference of 2 squares, or factoring a trinomial. Then we're going to set each factor equal to 0. And finally we're going to solve, and then step 4 is we're going to check our answers. Alright, let's look at a couple of examples. Alright, so I see a trinomial. It asks us to find the roots of the equation x squared minus 2x minus 15 equal to 0. Alright, so finding the roots means to solve for 0. Or find your zeros. So we're going to factor. This is a trinomial, so we want to know what multiplies to give me negative 15 and has a difference of negative 2. So negative 5 and 3. So break the middle term apart. We're just factoring. Group the first 2, group the second 2. GCF, 3 is our GCF. And so our common factor is x minus 5, and we're left with x plus 3. So there's our factoring. Alright, zero product property says that if terms multiply together to get 0, one or the other has to be 0. So that's why we're setting each term equal to 0. So we solve for x, we're going to get 5, and x equals negative 3. Alright, so our roots are 5 and negative 3. Our x-intercepts are 5, 0, negative 3, 0. Our zeros are negative 3 or 5. All mean the same thing. Alright, let's check our answer really quick. Don't be lazy. So I'm going to do some mental math. So 5 squared is 25. Minus 10 minus 15 equal to 0. Well, 25 minus 25 equal to 0. So 5 is good. Alright, let's check our other one. Negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6 minus 15. 9 plus 6 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. You should not get any extraneous solutions when you're solving quadratics. Alright, let's look at another one. It says solve the quadratic equation to find the solutions. That's the same thing as the roots, or the zeros, or the x-intercepts. All mean the same thing. Alright, so we're going to factor. This one has a lead coefficient. So it multiplies to give me negative 42, because 2 times negative 21, and has a difference of negative 1. So what? 6 and negative 7. Alright, rewrite the middle term. I'm just factoring. I'm going to get rid of this. Equal to 0. Group the first 2, group the second 2. Pull out your GCF. Pull a negative 7. So my common factor is x plus 3 and 2x minus 7. Alright, set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. Here I'm going to add 7 and then divide by 2. Now if you type your equations, check your answers. Alright, so my solution set is negative 3, 7/2. I can graph in y equals, and then find the zeros. Alright, find the x-intercepts. Here again, it means to find the zeros. So we're going to solve this. We're going to set it equal to 0. And there's the graphing calculator commands. Let's do it by hand. Alright, here, notice I have a GCF of 2. So I can divide everything up here by 2 Just makes my number smaller to work with. But just got to remember everything gets divided by 2. Alright, now we're going to factor. So what multiplies to give me negative 3 but has a difference of 2? What, 3 and negative 1? Rewrite. Group. Pull out a negative 1. So my common factor is x plus 1, and leaving me with 3x minus 1. Set each factor equal to 0. So x equals negative 1, and x equals 1/3. So my solution set is negative 1, 1/3. But this asks for intercepts, so intercepts have to be points. So negative 1, 0, 1/3, 0. So notice this is not the equation of the function that we just solved. That's just a picture. Alright, find the solution. Same thing as finding the zeros. Find the zeros. We know there's can be 2 of them. Alright, a lot of people get this problem wrong because they just want to divide through and get rid of that x. And we can't do that because an x is a solution and we're getting rid of one of our solutions. So we need to get everything on one side and factor. So don't be tempted to divide through by the x. Big no-no. Alright, now I do have a GCF. So I'm going to pull out a 5x and leaves me with x minus 4. Now this is in factored form. So I can set each factor equal to 0. So x is equal to 0 divided by 5 is 0. Add 4. And so my 2 solutions are 0 and 4. And see how they check. So we're going to go 5, 0 squared equals 20 times 0. 0 equals 0, so that one checks. And then 5, 4 squared, 16 equals 20 times 4. So that's 80 equals 80. So this one checks. Integral factors. Alright, so that just means to solve for x, or any variable that we have. Doesn't have to be an x. Alright, this is 4 terms, so we're going to factor by grouping. Notice it's in standard form. It counts down. 3, 2, 1, constant. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and group it as I write it down to solve it. Notice how I pull that negative in with the 16 and make it plus a negative 16x. That way I don't forget to factor out that negative. Alright, GCF, I get x squared, x minus 3. Pull out a negative 16. I get x minus 3. Alright, so common factor. And then my leftovers. Well, this is dots, so that I can get factored again. So this is going to have 3 answers. So factor difference of squares. So now we'll set each factor equal to 0, 3 of them. So my 3 solutions are 3, negative 4, or 4. So those are my integral factors. Another vocabulary, SOL term. Alright, let's go. We want a backwards thinking. Given the graph or zeros, write the function with integral factors, assuming a is 1. Alright, so here we say that x is equal to negative 1 or x is equal to 3. So we're kind of like unsolving. Alright, so if we move the x back, or move the 1 over, add 1, we get x plus 1 equals 0. And then x minus 3 equal to 0. Well, I'm going backwards, right? So now that's, like I've done the zero product property, and so now to factor it, and this is an equation, they say want to give us write the function, so f of x is equal to x plus 1 times x minus 3. And if I want it in standard form, I'm just going to FOIL it. So what x squared minus 3x plus 1x is negative 2x minus 3. Because I said our a is 1. Alright, same thing with this one. Alright, x equals negative 4, x equals 2. So we're going to unsolve it. So I'm going to add 4, subtract 2. So my factors are x plus 4, x minus 2. Assuming that they said the a is 1. Then we can FOIL it back out. And there it is in standard form. Alright, this is a little bit different. So this time we're going to multiply by 2 and then add 1. Here I'm going to subtract 1. So my factors are 2x plus 1 times x minus 1. And when I FOIL them, what do I get? 2x squared plus x minus 1. Nope, made a mistake. Should be minus x minus 1. Alright, how about this one? What are we going to do? So x equals 0. So x is one of my factors. Alright, what about this? Let's change this to a mixed number, 2.5. And 2.5, let's change to an improper fraction, 5/2. So we can unsolve it. So we're going to multiply by 2, subtract 5. So my two factors are my x and my 2x minus 5. So distribute the x, and there's my function. Alright, write the function with integral factors, assume a is 1. Alright, see that our x is equal to negative 0.5, which is a half. And x is equal to, you recognize that as 2/3? How to use the calculator. Alright, unsolve it, multiply by 2, add 1, multiply by 3, subtract 2. So my factors, since a is 1, are just going to be 2x plus 1, 3x minus 2. Okay, if you have any questions, please ask.